Progress.
Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for the City of Hayward.
Hold on, wait.
Oh, no?
I haven't started it yet.
Oh, I thought you,
Sorry.
thought you winked at me.
My eyelashes are heavy today. Webinar has started.
Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for the City of Hayward on April 11th, 2024. We're holding a hybrid meeting with some participants in the council chamber and others who have joined virtually via Zoom. This meeting is being webcast on Comcast TV Channel 15 and live streamed on the city's YouTube channel and on the city's website. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Patos, will you please take roll call?
Thank you, Chair Lowe. Commissioner Stevens?
Present.
Commissioner Goodbody?
Present.
Commissioner Franco Clausen?
Present.
Commissioner Patterson?
Present.
Commissioner Myers?
Present.
Chair Lowe.
Here. Thank you very much. The public comment section provides an opportunity to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on the agenda. The Commission welcomes comments and requests that speakers present their remarks in a respectful manner, within established time limits, and focus on issues which directly affect the city or are within the jurisdiction of the city, as the Commission is prohibited by state law from discussing items not listed on the agenda. Your items will be taken under consideration and may be referred to staff for further action. Speakers shall not use threatening, profane, or abusive language which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of a commission meeting. The city is committed to maintaining a workplace free of unlawful harassment and is mindful that city staff regularly attend commission meetings. Discriminatory statements or conduct that is hostile, intimidating, oppressive, or abusive are per se disruptive to a meeting and will not be tolerated. At this time, I'm opening public comment. Ms. Patos, do we have any public comments at this time?
Chair Lowe, we have 5 attendees and no one has raised their hands.
All right, and seeing no one present here, I am going to close public comments and begin with the first item. The first item on the agenda is the recommended fiscal year 2025 to fiscal year 2034 capital improvement program. Do we have a presentation from staff on this item?
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I am Alex Emery, the Director of Public Works for the City of Hayward. Staff is pleased to be here this evening to present the city's 10-year FY25, FY34 Capital Improvement Program. The development of CIP has been a process involving many staff over the past few months. Public Works and Utilities team has been led by Ellie Lowe and included Michael Wolney, Trang Nguyen, Sharon Hu, and Marissa Mata. As always, engineers and other staff in various divisions have been involved in and contributed to the process. Some of them, including Kathy Garcia, Deputy Director for Engineering, and Susan England, Utilities Engineering Manager, are available this evening to help respond to any questions. Staff recommends that the Commission finds that FY25 through FY34 CIP is consistent with the city's 2040 general plan and recommend its approval to the City Council. Now I turn this over to Michael Wolney, who is online. He's a management analyst and online to kick off the staff presentation. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can everyone hear me and see the PowerPoint?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'd like to start the presentation off by mentioning that this is the 4th year that the CIP has been developed in the online OpenGov Stories format. OpenGov Stories is an online budget book development tool designed to increase the user friendliness and ease of navigation within complex budgets. It's also intended to help increase the depth with which community members, council members, and other stakeholders can explore a budget. I will now open up the online book to provide a quick tutorial on how to navigate it. One moment while I switch screens. Okay, can everyone see the website?
Yes.
Thank you. The online web version can be accessed at www.hayward-ca.gov/CIP. On the CIP webpage, you'll see a blue bar, which will take you to the online version of the CIP. This is the recommended viewing experience for the CIP because it includes a number of interactive tables and charts. If you'd like to view a printable PDF version of the CIP, you can click the bar below the blue bar and view the PDF document there. There's also a new section on the website which includes the fiscal year CIP semi-annual progress report, where users can view status of projects. Now I'll be going back to the online version of the CIP on the OpenGov platform by clicking on the blue bar. Here you'll see the homepage. If you scroll down, you'll see the 4 main sections of the CIP. First, the introduction section includes more information about the city's elected officials and organizational chart. Second, the strategic priorities include an overview of the city's strategic priorities and some featured projects that support these priorities. Third, the Explore the Budget section, which is the heart of the CIP, is where you'll get key budget insights such as the total proposed budget amounts, as well as information on various projects within the CIP. Lastly, the Table of Contents page allows the users to navigate within the CIP, which I'll go over later. First, we're going to look at the Explore the Budget page. As you can see here, this page summarizes the fiscal year 25 CIP budget at a high level. The recommended CIP budget is $161 million, with the total 10-year budget at $1 billion. Below that are other key insights such as general fund transfer, internal service fee, and unfunded capital needs. The total fiscal year 25 general fund transfers to CIP funds amount to approximately $3.1 million. The total fiscal year 25 internal service fees approximately $4.6 million, and the total identified but unfunded capital needs portion is approximately $690 million. If you would like to see further details on the projects that comprise these amounts, you can click on the links to the right that say, "Click here to learn more." Scrolling down, you can see details of the recommended CIP by fund or by category. I'll start by clicking on the by fund link. Here you'll see an overview of the city's fund portfolio. If you scroll down, you'll see a table. If you click on the table, you can click and view the total recommended budget amounts by specific funds. If you keep scrolling down the page, you'll see a description of each fund, and each underlined text will link you to the new page that will show various projects within each fund. For example, if I click on Fund 210, Gas Tax, I will be taken to a separate page dedicated to Fund 210 projects. As you can see, I can click into each caret to then view various projects within the fund and category. Beneath the table, there is also a short list of featured projects with each having their own project page. For example, if I click on the fiscal year 25 pavement rehabilitation project, I will see an image and description. So here's the image and description. of the project, along with an overview of revenue sources that contribute to the project, as well as expense budget for this project. Now I'm going to go back to the Explore the Budget section using the back arrow keys. And this time we're going to look at the CIP, but instead of by fund, we're going to look at by category. Once again, you'll see a pie chart with the fiscal year 25 total budget, but this time broken down by category. Just like the fund page, you'll see a table that populates below the pie chart and allows you to see projects with their total budgets organized by category. If you continue down the page, you'll also see links to each category. For example, if I click on the Livable Neighborhoods category, I'll see a description of what the category is, and then another table with the projects and budgets that are in this category. Similar to viewing by fund, the bottom of the page will also show you all the feature projects within this category. In this case, parks and buildings, traffic calming, pedestrian and bicycle improvements, etc. Now let's go back to the Explore the Budget page. And I would also like to point out two helpful resources. First, starting with the appendices. If you're looking for a specific project budget but aren't sure how to find this project, you can start off with Appendix A for all project budgets by category. The Appendix A page will show an expanded view of every project and its budget. Users can search for keywords using the Control or Command F command. If I wanted to search for pavement projects, I can click Control F, then type in pavement, and all of the projects with the words pavement will be highlighted. On the other hand, if you're looking for a specific project description and aren't sure where to start, the best source would be Appendix B. Appendix B is all project descriptions and funds. On this page, the search functionality is actually built into the table. Again, if I want to look for pavement, I click on the caret right next to the project title, type in pavement, hit OK, and now I'll see all projects with pavement in the title of the project, along with their project numbers and descriptions. The easiest way to reset your search is to refresh your browser, like so. And then you can start your search again. Lastly, I'd like to point out the table of contents section. If you are ever lost or want to start over, the bottom of every page should have a link to the table of contents. When you open up the table of contents page, you'll see an overview of the structure of the CIP and links to every single page within the CIP. The three main sections featured on the homepage are also here: the introduction, strategic priorities, and explore the budget. Below that are the three subsections of the CIP: by fund portfolio, project category, and other. This allows the user to view project budgets and descriptions by fund or category like we previously went over. The last section for other shows the appendices as well as the CIP PDF link. The semi-annual report for fiscal year 25 will be linked later this year as projects make progress. This concludes the tour of the online CIP budget book, and I'll return to the presentation. Just one moment while I switch screens. Okay, can everyone see the PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Thank you. As I mentioned during the tour, the proposed CIP includes a total recommended budget of approximately $161 million in fiscal year 2025, and a total budget of approximately $1 billion in the entire 10-year planning period from fiscal year 25 through 34. The document also includes a proposed general fund transfer of approximately $3.1 million in fiscal year 25, which is a $283,000 reduction from the $3.4 million in fiscal year 2024. The recommended CIP also includes proposed internal service fees. These are the fees that are collected when one city department provides a service to another, drawing those service expenses from the operating budget of the benefiting department. The CIP includes a recommended internal service fee of approximately $4.5 million, which is about $760,000 lower than last year. This slide provides a snapshot of the recommended CIP's budget breakdown by project category. As you can see here, the largest portion of the recommended fiscal year 25 budget has been programmed in the water and sewer system categories in blue and orange. These categories encompass a wide range of projects which support the ongoing replacement and improvement of our utility infrastructure. Projects include our annual water and sewer line replacements and our Phase 2 improvement project at the Water Resource Recovery Facility, formerly known as the Water Pollution Control Facility. The third largest category is the Livable Neighborhoods category in gray, which includes projects like La Vista Park, Linear Park, the South Hayward Youth and Family Center, median landscaping projects along the Jackson Corridor, traffic calming projects, and pedestrian and bicycle improvements. This slide shows a snapshot of our recommended budget broken down by fund, as opposed to category. As you can see here, funds with the largest allocation of the recommended budget are the water and sewer system funds in orange and gray. And the fund with the third largest budget allocation is Fund 405 for capital projects. Many projects fall within the Livable Neighborhoods category, such as La Vista Park and the South Hayward Youth and Family Center. The rest of this evening's presentation will focus on demonstrating the proposed CIP's consistency with the Hayward 2040 General Plan. For any members of the public who are unfamiliar with the General Plan, it's a comprehensive document that contains the goals, policies, and implementation programs intended to guide the future development of Hayward. The full plan can be found at hayward2040generalplan.com, and a screenshot of the website is shown on this slide. The plan's goals and policies are organized into various elements, which are listed in the green bar at the top of the webpage. The proposed fiscal year 25 CIP includes a number of projects which support these elements. I'll be going into further detail of some of these CIP projects on the following slides. The following slides will also have a goal or policy number from the 2040 General Plan at the top of each slide under their respective element. Projects related to the element, goal, or policy number will be showcased on each slide. The Facilities and Services element establishes goals and policies to guide the overall provision of public facilities and services in Hayward. The South Hayward Youth and Family Center, which is a community center located on the corner of Tennyson and Roos Road, is a prime example of a CIP project which supports this element. Two additional examples include the Water Resource Recovery Facility switchgear rehabilitation and Phase 2 improvement projects, which are critical to ensuring the continued operation and future growth of our wastewater treatment facilities and services. The mobility element of the general plan serves to improve the mobility of people and goods throughout the city. The Mission Boulevard Phase 3 project is a key example of a CIP project that supports this element. It's the last phase of the three-phase Mission Boulevard Corridor Improvement Project and will include traffic calming measures, the addition of bicycle facilities, the installation of landscaping, monument sites, and other improvements. Some other examples include the Campus Drive Improvement Project, through which a series of traffic calming measures have been implemented in the stretch of Campus Drive between 2nd Street and Hayward Boulevard. Finally, the Main Street Complete Street project is another example of a major CIP project in alignment with this element. The project will improve pedestrian and bicycle facilities along Main Street to create a safe and friendly environment for multimodal travel in downtown Hayward. Several other mobility projects worth noting include the pavement rehabilitation and new sidewalk projects, which are completed every year and are intended to improve the city's pavement condition index, as well as expand the city's sidewalk network. The Old Highland Homeowners Association pavement program is also aligned with this element, which serves to improve the conditions of the roads in the OHA area, which is located in the Hayward Hills, just east of Cal State East Bay. The natural resources element establishes goals and policies to protect and enhance the natural resources within Hayward. Our recycled water projects support this element by providing treated wastewater to customers for irrigation purposes, which saves drinking water and reduces the volume of wastewater discharged to the bay. The city officially began delivering recycled water to approximately 31 Phase 1 customers in March 2022, and will begin developing a Phase 2 facilities plan to prepare for expansion of the system. La Vista Park is another major project aligned with this element. The project is a 39-acre planned destination park located a quarter-mile east of the intersection of Tennyson Road and Mission Boulevard in South Hayward, and construction is planned to commence in 2024. Additional examples include the 1.4 megawatt solar project at the Water Resource Recovery Facility, through which the city is expanding its solar field. Efforts to transition the city's fleet to hybrid and EV models is another example, as well as the citywide EV charging projects. These three items also directly align with the city's climate action plan, which has been adopted as part of the general plan. The community safety element serves to enhance the programs and services of Hayward and police and fire departments. Perhaps the most noteworthy example of a CIP project aligned with this element is the Fire Station Number 6 and Fire Training Center project. The new training center was constructed at the Hayward Executive Airport as a campus with classrooms, offices, a training tower, a burn building, and other facilities for urban search and rescue. Construction began in August 2020 and was completed by fall 2023. Staff is closing out the final punch list items for this project. The land use element establishes goals and policies to enhance Hayward's neighborhoods and districts with an attractive mix of uses and amenities. One of the main goals within this element is the goal to create attractive corridors that serve people traveling through the city, which is exactly the intent of the Jackson Corridor Beautification Project. The 3-year project, which started last year, involves new trees, plants, bark chips, pavers, and more in an effort to transform the busy Jackson Corridor into a visually appealing community gateway. Similar improvements were completed along the Tennyson Corridor, another key arterial road in the city, as pictured here. The hazards element aligned with the drainage improvement at Alf Street, Layton, and 4th Street, and the new storm drain replacement at Kings Court. These projects will replace or repair damaged storm drain pipes due to old age or erosion from the recent heavy rains over the past years, which protect life and minimize property damage from potential flood hazards. Various parts of Hayward are subject to flooding during major storm events, including the shoreline areas and upland areas located along streams, creeks, and drainage ways. The CIP also includes landscape, material, median, tree, and shrub replacement project, and a new hazardous tree removal and replacement project. Both align with the community health and quality of life goals, as well as the new environmental justice element policy. These projects will maintain, enhance, and increase the city's urban forest as an environmental, economic, and aesthetic resource to improve Hayward's residents' quality of life. Extensive tree canopies reduce the urban heat island effect and make streets and sidewalks more pleasant places to walk. Trees also absorb carbon dioxide, pollution, and produce oxygen, which contribute to improved air quality and human health. Mission Linear Park was completed earlier this year, and in the photo on the right, you can see community members enjoying the park. In addition to demonstrating the recommended CIP's consistency with the general plan, I would also like to take a brief moment to demonstrate its alignment with the city's strategic roadmap. The list of projects featured here is not exhaustive, but does demonstrate a nice snapshot of the priorities which the CIP projects support. For example, you can see that the CIP projects tend to directly support the invest in infrastructure priority. However, many of the projects support multiple priorities simultaneously. That concludes my presentation. It is staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission finds that the recommended CIP is consistent with the Hayward 2040 General Plan. Myself and the team are now available for any questions.
Thank you very much to Mr. Amiri and Mr. Wolney. Are there, at this point, I would open it up for commissioner questions. We have any commissioner questions? All right, Commissioner Patterson.
Thank you, Chair Lowe. Thank you, staff, for the presentation. I have some comments later about just the website and things. I think it's amazing, but I'll save more of my commentary for that. My first question is really around the water system projects. So what's being recommended is $25 million dollars more than what was originally adopted. And I was just wondering, since it seems that most of these are related to things, and as was said in the presentation, it wasn't in the staff report, so I actually had to do some digging to find out what all that was for. But the annual line replacements, it seems like it's spanning from 2022 all the way through to 2025. So I'm just wondering why those weren't anticipated, and like what additional costs have come up that led that to such a large increase in the amount budgeted.
I can respond to that. Thank you very much for your question. We have approximately $7 to $8 million a year to spend for pipeline replacement. In order to have economies of scale and benefit from that, we combine a number of years of those projects and do them at the same time. For instance, the project that is currently underway for both water and wastewater pipeline replacement is approximately $24 million. For FY25, we have combined several projects, and the total cost is in the neighborhood of $33 million. So that, you know, the expenditure per year remains as per the approved project, but because we combine them to benefit from economies of scale, the number looks much higher.
So just to make sure I understand, so I'm going to try to kind of repeat back what I think I heard. So you're saying that what you projected did not include numbers from potentially the other years, but this one did, and this one is accounting for the economies of scale.
Correct. So we can go every year and spend about $7 million on the water side, $7 million on the wastewater side. But the better approach is to wait and combine 2 or 3 years projects into one project, save the monies from 2 years ago and last year, and do one project this year in order to benefit from one design, one construction management, and one contractor to do the water project and another to do the sewer project.
So then you're saying basically this, it will be a cost savings over time because of the way that you're combining them, although right now it seems like a large increase.
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. My next question was about, it is under the natural resources element section, page 9 of the staff report. And it's just more of a defining a piece in their question because I tried to look it up online as well. So it's policy NR 2.10, the zero emission one. I know this is just an example of a project, but I'm just curious. I found it in the climate action plan, but I didn't see a definition there either. I'm just really wondering what requiring sufficient and convenient infrastructure and parking facilities throughout the city means.
So that means that we are working with outside entities looking for grant funding to provide for public charging stations in the city for use of EV and expansion of that use. I'm sure you have noticed that private companies have already taken the initiative to do that. When you look at the parking lot of, for instance, Safeway on Jackson, or the newer one would be the Target one off of A Street, there are new Tesla charging stations that have been installed. The city is also pursuing similar projects in public municipal lots and public places. We have identified one of our municipal lots, that would be Lot 4, that is off of 2nd Street between B and C for that purpose, and we are working on seeing if we can implement a project there.
Okay, thank you, that's very helpful. Because I didn't understand it, I wasn't sure if the beginning of it was contradicting something at the end, but the way you've explained it, it totally makes sense, so I
I
appreciate
understand.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. Commissioner Myers, did you have questions?
Thank you, Chair. I had a bunch of questions, but I was able to jump in to the great website and figure out most of them. A couple of them I just wanted to bring up today. I noticed that if I look at the staff report under the fiscal impacts section, page 5, the CIP shows $161 million, of course, for the fiscal year 2025. It also says the $1 billion over the 10 years. If I take the 161 million, let's say times 10, it comes out to about, I think it's $610 million over. Is that approximately where we're getting that unfunded 690 million? Are we projecting out the 161 for 10 years, or how are we coming out with that unfunded?
I can explain that. So the total amount of projects for FY25 is $161 million. When we look at identified projects for the next year, let's say pavement project for FY26, 27, 28, pipeline replacement, likewise, the huge project that we are going to be doing at the Water Resource and Recovery Facility, all of those add up to well over $1 billion. It is going to be even more than that, but because we can't precisely predict what is going to be required in FY33 or 8-9 years out, we have fewer projects in those out years, so the total is around $1 billion. But there are several other projects, many other projects that we have identified, but we do not have any funding for right now. They are not in our 10-year, CIP. For instance, to give you an example, we need to have a safety center. That is going to cost upwards of $200 million. Currently, we don't have the funding for it. Our corporation yard, for instance, is many years old, it's not up to date, and it needs to be refurbished and redone. The cost of that is well over $50 million. We do not have the funding for that. So when you add up all of those costs that we have identified, but we don't have funding for, that amounts to $690 million.
Oh, okay, thank you. So let me do the same thing and see if I could say it back to fully understand. So then the $1 billion projected is what we consider that we do have funding for? That's where that's written already, and the 690 is not they're projects, but we just don't have the funding for them. Is that right?
So correct, but I just want to add that for some projects, we are predicting that we'll be successful to get some grant funding. So to the extent that we are going to be able to get those grant fundings, the projects are going to move forward at a cost of $1 billion or more.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that.
Sure.
The second item and last item I have is I noticed that the airport funding this year went from 1 million to approximately just under $8 million. I was wondering if you could elaborate on what that $7.6 million is taking care of this year, and do we project that for the future years?
So there are some projects that we are hoping to do, and if we are successful to work with FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, and Caltrans Aviation Division, we would be able to do those projects at a total cost of $8 million or more, but much of that cost is reimbursable by FAA and by Caltrans. So you see those huge figures, but they are not necessarily a hit on the budget of airport itself.
Oh, okay. So it would be on the fiscal year, but it wouldn't necessarily be a deficit from our fund.
Correct.
And so we wouldn't see that, unless we have new projects, we wouldn't see those kind of debts in the future. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes, correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Any other commissioner questions? All right, so I will close commissioner questions and, yes, go ahead, Commissioner Goodbody. Sorry, I didn't
Thank
see
you, Chair Lowe. My question was regarding, on page 3 of the staff report, the natural resources section of the general plan element doesn't include any discussion about the natural gas, and I was just wondering if there were any considerations when developing the CIP, given that our use of electricity and electrification will increase while our use of natural gas will decrease over the lifespan of this next improvement plan. And I was just wondering if there was any discussions about that, or if maybe that is in another document or in another plan, or in another part of the city.
There
planning
are
process.
consideration and discussion of that. The city has been active in discouraging the use of natural gas, especially in new construction. We have a REACH code that we adopted a couple of years ago that tried to ban the use of natural gas in certain developments in the city, but there is right now a court case that prohibits implementation of that, and the city has paused pushing that forward. We are taking advantage of any opportunity that comes up to reduce the use of natural gas. For instance, I can tell you that at the Water Resource Recovery Facility, we have a new building that is being designed. That building is not going to include the use of any natural gas. It is going to be fully electric. So whenever the city has a project, we implement measures to reduce the use of natural gas. Also, when it comes to existing developments, existing homes, which is, the lion's share of the use of natural gas here in the city, we are trying to find ways of encouraging or maybe even subsidizing, if we can find the grants for it, the conversion of some of the existing uses to electrification. One of the obvious ways that can be accomplished is when people are replacing their hot water heater, they can replace it with a model that is electric, is more efficient, and there are also rebates for it from various sources to make the cost a little bit more palatable.
Thank you. That's really great information to know, and thank you for sharing. So my follow-up question to that, Director Amiri, is then, You talked a little bit about some of the programs and some of the ways that we can incentivize homeowners to do that conversion. What about commercial, what about businesses that are here in Hayward that are, I'm thinking of one in particular, that are natural gas facilities? How do those factor into planning?
Yes, to the extent that it is practical for them to convert their operation to electric, there are also incentives for them to be able to take advantage of and do that. But some of them, especially the larger ones, at this point, it may not be practical for them to make the conversion.
Are there any other commissioner questions?
I did have just one question.
Go ahead.
I apologize, I don't have my iPad. I did have a question about when we're looking at the livable neighborhoods category.
Yep.
I will just say that I live on Sleepy Hollow and Hesperian in between industrial. How does it get decided where the projects will start, which neighborhoods we would start with first? I do love what I see up towards Mission, and I see that the aesthetics are really trying to keep up with the building that's happening. But what I find is I would love to know how we plan these projects out, because we don't have that same type of love down on the Sleepy Hollow side. A lot of our streets are really bad. Our sidewalks are, trees are making them have uneven pavements. There's a lot of dead trees. There isn't consistent cleaning up around certain parts. So just wondering, how do you make a decision when you're designing these projects based off the need?
That's a great question. First is the condition of the streets, the condition of the sidewalk. The city assesses them and comes up with, for instance, for the sidewalk work, we have different districts. We have a plan that says, this year we'll do these 2 districts and next year the other 2, and so on and so forth. For pavement, we have projects that hires experts to go about different streets in the city and assess the condition of those streets. We also hear from our residents and take their comments into consideration when we are designing projects or scheduling projects. I also wanted to add that another factor that's very, very important now is the concept of equity. We'll take a look and see where are the places in the city, for instance, some location in South Hayward, Jackson Triangle, and other locations that have not received their share of improvements over the past years. So we give priority to those locations. If you look at some of our staff reports, when we are doing sidewalk project or pavement project, we discuss social equity in as one of the considerations for selecting projects. Of course, when it comes to utilities project, water, wastewater, that doesn't, it's not a factor as much because, this is a network and we have to improve everything, at the same time. But when it comes to those visible things like sidewalks, trees, or pavement, one of the main considerations, at least in the past several years, has been the concept of equity.
Thank you for that. Just to push on it just a little further,
Sure.
When you said there's an outside person that goes around and drives the neighborhood, are they not associated to Hayward, or they're an outside consultant?
They are an outside consultant, and their job is basically look at the pavements and tell us that this pavement is in need of such and such improvement. It is then up to the city staff to decide which one of those pavements to select and how to spend monies to maximize the return on the limited amount of monies and funds that we have. And as I said, then the location, social equity, becomes one of the factors that we use in selecting which projects to include.
Thank you. I want to follow up with you on that. Not here, though. The second part is you mentioned earlier about the charging stations, like example, Target. Will that be happening throughout other spaces around Hayward, for example? Just in my neighborhood alone, I mean, the trees are actually dead. There's no lighting in our shopping center. It's got sap all over the grounds because the trees are very sick. But it would be nice to have a charging station at that shopping center, but it's still in that neighborhood that's over there. And I think we mentioned something about this in our last meeting when Kaiser was asking for some additions. That neighborhood
Yes.
is the neighborhood I'm talking about, going in down all the way down to industrial, that don't have the same type of investment, if you will. And I live there and I walk these neighborhoods too. Even the parks. You know, thank goodness former council member Sarah Lehman is very open to ask, well, what are some parks that, what do you need in the parks to even get those paved, which we did. She's amazing, which she did, but just the process of making sure that the equity is not just in certain nicer neighborhoods, but that it actually gets into the spaces where people do need the uplifting of their neighborhood, the beautification, that creates this love and investment in their own neighborhoods, is one of the things that I was just wondering, as I'm a new commissioner, like how that process works, because it would be nice to have the same amenities that you would see down at the Target right over here on Sleepy Hollow and Hesperian.
Absolutely. So in response to your question, I have to say that there are two different groups that provide for these charging stations. One are private sector companies, such as Tesla, for instance. They look at, one, the maximum return on their investment, and secondly, which are the locations that lend themselves to tying up, let's say, 20 parking spaces for Tesla charging stations. And they have chosen those few locations that I mentioned to you, and I have no doubt that over the next few years you will see more of those charging stations throughout the city in different locations. The other group of projects are public projects, the projects that the city is pursuing, and we have some municipal parking lots that are generally located in the downtown. We are trying to find a suitable location for them. Like I said, our parking lot number 4 has been identified as one. There are also a couple other locations in the Fairway Park neighborhood and in South Hayward that we have tentatively identified, but we are in conversation to see if those places are locations that lend themselves to that kind of development. I have to quickly add that we get some pushback from some of the businesses because they are concerned about tying up a big number of parking spaces at this time for, EV parking, because they don't want to tie up, a parking location near a business for a car that may, park there for a number of hours and be left there. So there are some challenges that we are working through right now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I have a question, and that is, it says that around $3 million of the total fiscal year 2025 general fund transfers are 8% lower than the fiscal year 2024 transfers. And I was wondering, is that because some of the projects are being completed, or because of reimbursements from the state or federal funds, or from grants?
It just happens that some of the purchases that are recommended for next year are at lower level compared to purchases that we made in 2024 or 2023. This is just that, for instance, if we needed to buy a vehicle for street sweeping or a fire truck, one year the expenditure may be a little bit higher than the next year. This year we wanted to make an effort to decrease the amount of impact on general fund, and working with different departments, we came up with projects that have a slightly less impact on general fund.
Thank you very much. Are there any other commissioner questions? Seeing none, I'm going to close commissioner questions and open public comment. Ms. Paras, do we have any public comment on this item?
Thank you, Chair Lowe. We have 8 attendees and no hands raised.
Then at this time, I will close public comments and open it up for commissioner comments. This is a time that the commissioners get a chance to make comments and as opposed to questions. So I know Commissioner Patterson said you had some, so I'll start with you.
Thank you. So I have just a couple. One, again, it was my thanks for all that you all do. I know that it's just so much work that you can see goes into it. But I especially want to say how much I love the CIP website. The look of it, the content, the readability, the ease of access and navigation, like all of it I thought was just absolutely excellent, and I really enjoyed looking through it. So I just wanted to share that. That being said, the challenge with this evening, to me, was with the staff report. I was wondering, and it could be because I haven't been at this as long either, so things don't intuitively flow sometimes, and so I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm reading. So I didn't know if it maybe would have helped if some of the way the staff report was structured was more aligned to like the project categories in the CIP, because it seemed like there were just kind of random examples of projects that were selected that aligned to the elements. And I was a little confused, and then I had to do digging to find out sometimes like where the funding, like, just, well, what actually makes up this group, and what am I actually looking at? So I just did want to share that. While I thought the information was great, I didn't necessarily need to ask it as a question, like why certain projects were selected, but just wanted to note that. And then finally, my last comment was just that I'm really, really excited about La Vista Park, and I was excited to learn more about that too from reading this. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Franco Clausen.
Yeah, I just want to echo what my colleague just said about all the work that goes into it. And unfortunately, staff has my iPad, it's being fixed, but I was able to navigate through the entire process from our online portal, going through our website, everything at the touch, like literally was doing it through my cell phone. So yes, to that point, it's easy to find. That's how I was able to see what neighborhoods were selected, what parks were selected. So you have done an incredible job. And I too am learning when I'm reading stuff, I don't always know what it means. And so I do appreciate that, even though some of our questions may be very simple, but to us it's really complex, but that you always, the team always comes back and gives us great answers to make us, so you better understand, the things that we're looking at when we're up here. So I just want to thank you. And then the last part of that is, I think when it comes to community outreach, and when we do that, I've mentioned this before, to find out what does Hayward residents really, really want, tap into us in our own neighborhoods to be that trusted messenger. I knock doors for a living as a political strategist. I don't mind knocking and learning what are the things in my neighborhood, as I do now. I know everyone's very disappointed in the traffic and crime on our street, but I'm just saying in that vein, whatever the community process that when you're deciding on projects or where we're gonna, do phase 2, to have a lot of community input and rely on us to bring those people to this room or through a process so that it feels like all of Hayward's involved.
Absolutely. Thank you for the comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodbody?
Thank you, Chair Lowe. I wanted to also speak to the website and the functionality as well too. I think that it's really important to be able to tell a story, and there's a lot of visual learners. I'm a visual learner as well, and I think for topics that are technical and not terribly exciting, and people don't get excited about new sewer lines or things like that. I think it's very important to tie all that together through this story format. And I also wanted to suggest that maybe you might consider tying this open gov stories or the presentation of the CIP or other large documents that the city that go through the city council for approval, is tying it back to the resident satisfaction survey. I know it's been a couple years since we've had one, and so I think it would be important to sort of tie that back. There's this the Eden, the youth, the Stack Center,
Yes.
Speaks to the resident, community satisfaction survey of wanting to have more activity in South Hayward, or if there's, when you're working on streets. Also tie that back to the resident survey of wanting more safety and more being able to walk around a little bit. So that was one suggestion that I thought I'd share with you.
Great suggestion. Thank you.
Commissioner Stevens?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all this great work. I mean, I think that like bike lanes and parks and libraries, they get all the excitement. They're the things that everybody loves. But I think the attention to our sewers, our water lines, and our streets, that's something that requires an incredible amount of work and effort. I wanted to send my appreciation to you, Director, as well as all the staff that struggles every day to make this city great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I also want to say I really, really appreciated how easy it was to navigate the website, and not just the website, the CIP website, but also as far as going through for looking for the elements when I was clicking on those, and then the drop-down menus were really great. I liked how you had the summary at the beginning to really explain what each one was, what each part was, and then having the drop-down menu for each subcategory that was very digestible. It was really well thought out and very well executed. So thank you for all of it.
Thank you very much.
So at this time, I will entertain a motion if anyone has one.
I'll motion to approve, to move the recommendation.
Do I have a second? So, Ms. Pottas, the motion was made by Commissioner Patterson and seconded by Commissioner Goodbody. And I just want to make sure that we clarify that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Patterson, but I just want to make sure that now my computer is doing something weird. Okay, to make sure that you are recommending, are recommending that we approve the capital improvement program, and that we are stating that it complies with the general plan?
Yes.
Is that correct? Is that what you're seconded? Okay, just want to make sure before we move on. And Ms. Pottas, will you please take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodbody,
Yes.
Commissioner Franco-Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Yes.
Chair Lowe.
Aye. And it passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The second item on the agenda is an item that was continued from March 28, 2024, and it is the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting on October 12, 2023. And do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I motion to approve those minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, the motion was made by Commissioner Franco-Clausen and seconded by Commissioner Goodbody. May we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodbody,
Yes.
Commissioner Franco-Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Yes.
Chair Lowe.
Yes, and the motion passes unanimously. The agenda item number 3 was the Planning Commission schedule updated.
Yes. Good Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you. So I just wanted to let you know, the meeting schedule for the rest of the year was updated to align with the city council closure, which will be all of July and the first half of August. I think that the schedule before had you having the first meeting in July and then going dark the second half of July and the first half of August. So you'll have a month and a half off instead of just a month. Yeah, so the last meeting will be, if there's anything on the agenda, would be the end of June, and then we'll resume at the end of August.
And do we need to approve anything? We don't, right?
No, it's more
Okay.
informational.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting us know that. So do we have any commissioner reports? Any commissioner reports? And is the next meeting going to take place on April 25th, 2024?
No, it won't. We don't have any items for that meeting. Right now, there's nothing agendized. Things may come up, but so far it doesn't look like, definitely not the second half of April and possibly not even the first half of May.
Yeah. So Commissioner Franco Clausen, go ahead.
I just have for procedure. Unfortunately, I will be doing travel. It's so far, I'm only going to miss one meeting, but I can see that meeting remote, correct? Yes? Okay, then I won't miss it.
Yeah, well, it depends. So if you are, where you're located, if you can post the agenda there, and if the location is,
I can
open
meet
to
like in the hotel lobby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can do all those things, then.
I can do all
yes.
those things.
Yeah.
Are there any other commissioner announcements, referrals, questions? Okay. All right. So, did you have something else? Oh, I thought you said you had something else. So at this time, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.